Hello and welcome. You're watching Ask BQ on Bloomberg Quint. I am Agam Vakil and with me is Alex Matthew. Hi, Alex.
Hey, Agam. Well, it's a busy day today, isn't it? We just done with the press conference. I told you everything that the Monetary Policy Committee debated on. There's been a cut. And if you've been tuned in, you know what the rationale behind that is. If you've got questions on equity, then this is the perfect show for you. You can send those queries to us on Twitter, Facebook, and on WhatsApp. You can also call us on 022-454-04141, or you can mail us on askbq@bloombergquint.com. Only make sure to add the AskBQ hashtag.
Well, on that note, we take a look at the markets and very quiet. While we did see some very sharp moves after the policy, after the rate cut came through, but since then we have seen the markets go back to where they were earlier in the session. So the Nifty and the Sensex trading largely where we left off yesterday, absolutely flat, marginally in the green, but the Nifty banking index is the one which has advanced and it's up by nearly 1/3%. There's some gains coming in there, hanging on to 30,000 mark. What about the broader markets, the mid-cap and the small-cap indices? That's where we're seeing a little more traction, not much, but the small cap indexes are currently in the red, whereas the mid cap is trending higher by around 0.2%. Moving on to your stocks. In terms of gainers and losers, in the Nifty 50, we have advances for Hero MotoCorp up 2.4%, pardon me. HDFC up 2.2%, and Indiabulls Housing Finance also advancing in trade on the back of its quarterly update, where it has suggested an improvement in profitability. Ultratech Cement, Bharti Airtel, and Sun Pharma are among others, which are also advancing by 1.5%. In losers, we don't have too many, but among the big ones, there is a 2.3% drop for HCL Technologies. Hindalco remains under pressure by just as much, 2.3% declines there. And BPCL continues to reel under pressure, and it's not just BPCL, it's HPCL and IOC as well. As crude rises, we continue to see more weakness for some of these OMCs. TCS is something which is bearing down on the index, considering it is a heavyweight company, and Yes Bank, of course, is also down 1.4%. But on the whole, a very quiet day of trade. Well, we were expecting some sort of reaction, but it really hasn't come through after the credit policy, Alex.
But there has been a big move in the currency markets. Let's pull up the rupee versus the US dollar, the USD INR. As you can see, the increase or the depreciation in the rupee against the dollar to the extent of 0.9%, and most of that move happening just after or around the time of the policy announcement. You also have the bond yields. Let's pull up the chart and see where it's currently trading. Just about a 6 basis points uptick in the 10-year benchmark, currently trading around 7.337. Of course, a lot has to do with the expectation of what is to come, and obviously the change that was announced with regard to the outlook for growth in the current financial year, and also the outlook on inflation. All right, but with that, let's turn to the questions, and to answer those questions, we've got a couple of experts today. Vikas Jain of Reliance Securities and Sandeep Jain of Tradeswift Broking are here to answer all of your questions this afternoon. Welcome to the show, gentlemen. Sandeep, I think it's both of you actually. We can perhaps talk about the financials or the financial sector and see what the expectation is and what your recommendations are. We've got specific questions and we'll go to them, but broadly, if you were to look at the names in the financial sector space, Sandeep, what would you recommend going forward, just taking into account the start that we have with regard to the comments that he made with regard to the resolutions, what he has to say with regard to transmission of the rates? What would you recommend?
Somehow in BFSI segments, say NBFCs and banks, I think I would like to go with SBI, though it has given a big run up in last few sessions, but still, I feel that there is still big steam left, and once it declines, I think that can be a very good level to enter. But otherwise also one can buy SBI at these levels. Then LIC HFL, in fact, it has been facing a resistance at around 550, but then somehow I feel that this particular rate cut will be beneficial for these particular HFCs who are actually working on thin NIMs. So I think it will be good for these particular companies. And Yes Bank, somehow I feel that this is one bank which can really do well in private sector banks, and then BOB. So these are some of the few names which we are looking at.
Okay. Let's move on and take a look at the Nifty Bank as well, and in which case we can possibly have a technical view here too. And perhaps if Vikas can help us out here. So the Nifty Bank index is now up 0.5% at 30,235. Vikas, how would you trade the Nifty Banking Index now that the event is behind us?
Yeah, the premium has been pretty sharp, as the India, which has also rose pretty sharply. So the premium is almost in excess of 200 odd points. But we continue to believe the Bank Nifty would face multiple resistances in the region of those high which it made attempt. Because if you look at the structure, the last month high or last week high of 30,911, and this week we have made a lower low near to those high at 30,890. So 30,800 would continue to act as a strong resistance in terms of the overall setup. Despite being a rate cut, we have been trading flat to negative. So we believe there could be some amount of profit booking into the Bank Nifty names from current levels. NBFC Select can be seen as an opportunity to do long among the prominent names. HDFC looks pretty good even from current levels.
Okay, we've got another question for you, Vikas. This one on Himadri Specialty. The stock is currently trading about 0.6% lower from what I can see. Let's pull up the chart and see where it's currently trading. We've got a question from Tarsem Chauhan. He's asking for a short-term view on Himadri Specialty.
Well, in case of the Himadri Specialty Chemicals, the stock has been just languishing around between those 110 to 120 odd levels. It failed to cross its higher band range of 125, 130. So we believe the stock would see some amount of more pain from here on, and the strat to once again to test its lower end of the range near to sub 100 odd levels.
Not the most liquid counters, as we can see, though whenever this particular counter does take come to activity, it does see a lot of traction. Again, very, very volatile, more news based than anything. But let's move on and then take a look at okay, we do have a lot of short-term queries. I'm actually looking for a long-term one on JSW Energy and India Cement. All right, so we have a question from Abhijit. And Sandeep, your view on JSW Energy and India Cement, two different companies from two very different sectors. What's your view here?
See, actually, both are very high beta names, and somehow I feel that JSW Energy being a company from the JSW group, and then power sector stocks are actually doing well. And I feel that JSW Energy can be a good bet on declines, but when it comes to India Cements, somehow I'm not very confident about this particular counter, though it has also corrected and risk reward ratio is good. Technically it can be traded, but when it comes to fundamentals, I feel that there are better names like Ultratech, which can be bought on declines, then Ramco Cements from South, and then Heidelberg Cement. I think these are some good names which I would like to go with. Even though the cement stocks are actually trading well these 2-3 sessions, but then somehow I'm not very bullish with this particular sector in the long run.
Absolutely, you said it right. In fact, some of those numbers flashing on your screen indicate that the cement sector is actually performing, or some of those names are performing quite well in trade today. Another question for you, Sandeep. This one is actually quite a common name that features on this show, particularly Graphite India, and the other one, of course, that people want to know about is HEG. Would you consider this the right time, considering the kind of correction that we've seen in the recent past in these two counters? Let's pull up the year-to-date chart, in fact, and that perhaps will give you an idea as to how these two counters have traded. We've got a question from Deepa about whether or not these counters are, specifically Graphite India, this is a good time to invest into this counter.
See, I don't think one should invest afresh, because the reason being one should understand that both the names have been big multi-baggers. Say 20x, 30x they have given in last 2-3 years, and reason being the macros of the industry changed like anything, and it was totally towards the favor of these two players. In fact, one of the leading companies. In fact, these two are the leading companies in the world. And in fact, I feel that China factor was working with them. Then the steel industry growth was working with them. But now all these factors have actually been discounted, and somehow still the balance sheet looks very good. It's not that the valuations are expensive, but somehow markets don't trade on past. They look at future fundamentals or future prospects. So I think all these have been discounted. So now it's simply an investment call. One has to stay invested, and then he can make some money. And the volatility nature of this particular counters, somehow I'm trying to avoid fresh investments in these particular counters. So it's simply a hold from my side.
Okay, well, that's your view on HEG and graphite. I'll move on and take a technical view from Tejinder. This one is on Kotak Mahindra Bank, and he wants to, take a positional trade, make a positional trade in this one. Let's pull up Kotak Mahindra Bank. What is also true of this one is while we have seen relative strength in some of its private sector peers like ICICI and Axis Bank, Kotak Mahindra Bank has not exactly seen that kind of strength. It's currently at 1335. It moved around 1350 and came back down to these levels. Vikas, how would you trade Kotak Mahindra Bank positionally?
If you look at the structure, has been quite positive. It gave a head-up move from 1240 to 1350 odd levels. And then now for the last 8-10 days, the stock is been consolidating as doing a time-wise correction. So the stock has not seen any major price-wise correction in line with the broader markets. So we believe the stock should continue see some amount of more upside being pretty left near to those 1410, 1420 levels. So one can initiate launch if it is the current levels and keep the expected strike stop of around 1305, because that would be the last 2 weeks low. So keep a stop of 1305 for a target of 1410 to 1420.
Okay, let's pull up Amara Raja Batteries. It's been a stock in the news. This is, of course, the update that we received with regard to the breaking of an alliance with Johnson Control. Let's talk about it. It's down about 0.8% as of now. We've got a question from Ramanuj. No, this is from Vimal Kumar. Vimal Kumar. He's asking for a long-term view, Sandeep, on Amara Raja Batteries. What would you have to say with regard to the latest developments and also talking about the long-term fundamentals of this counter?
See, somehow I feel that, this particular development has given a big shock to the stock prices, and the stock prices have gone down. In fact, now I think, looking at the valuations and looking at the company's fundamentals, I don't feel, one should exit the stock. One can stay invested in the stock. And from the long-term point of view, I think things will again, stabilize. So I don't think one should get worried. And I think that's the reason being, JCHAC has actually gone up. But I'm just trying to correlate these two. And that stock has actually gone up. And I have been recommending somehow JCHAC since quite a few times on your channel also. So one can certainly go with JCHAC, Johnson Control Hitachi AC. So that looks very good, very attractive at these levels. Today, I think it is up by 5-6%, but still I feel there is some steam left in the stock here.
Okay, well, let's move on and take a query from Manigandhan. He wants a 3-month view on Vedanta. Vedanta again, we've actually seen a lot of traction in the metals companies today, and Vedanta has been advancing by 1.5% as well in tandem with the sector. Currently at 188. Vikas, how would you trade Vedanta, keeping in mind 3 months from here on?
The structure has been quite positive. We have seen good amount of selective buying in the metal space, and Vedanta is seeing good amount of up move from the sub lows of those 155, 160 last month. So some amount of time buying consolidation can be done at this place, but as the view has been pretty 3 months view, so we believe the view continues to remain positive. On the higher side, the stock can easily test 215, which is its 200-day average. So we believe one can continue to hold on, or you can buy even fresh at current levels. But only thing is that the up move has been pretty sharp. If he wants to buy, he can buy in 2 parts. 50% now and 50% declines near to those 177, 178, and keep a stop of 170.
It's a bullish call on Vedanta. Let's take a question from Nishta Dhingra, who's written in on Facebook. She wants to invest in Tata Steel for the long term, speaking about metal counters, for the next 4 to 5 years, she specifies, and she's wondering if it's a good time to make a fresh entry into this counter, or for that matter, any other, counter that you would suggest, Sandeep, in the same space. But speaking about Tata Steel, the outlook for the current year, going by its plan to focus more on the domestic space rather than what it has been doing in the past?
Somehow, when it comes to Tata Steel, I have not been recommending this stock for a buy. Those who are actually holding it, they can continue hold it. Reason being, there were some positive developments which happened in the past relating to their international operations and all. But when it comes to recommending a stock to buy in this particular sector, I have been very bullishly recommending JSW Steel. Somehow, I really like the way it has been managed. The promoters are actually aggressively expanding their operations, and the kind of balance sheet the company has been, offering. So all these things, actually looking at the fundamentals and looking at the macros of the industry also, and looking at the management aggression, that really gives me a good confidence in this particular counter. And I think when it goes down also, one should not be afraid and rather try to accumulate levels of around say 275, 80. And I think it can easily go up to 325, 340 levels. And the second stock is MOIL, though PSU stocks somehow have been underperformers since last 1.5 years. But then, I feel the level it is trading at, the valuation it is trading at, are extremely attractive. So I think one can look at MOIL also.
Okay, well, our next question is on Greaves Cotton. We actually want a short-term and a long-term view. This one is Saurav's question on Facebook. It's currently at 146. Hasn't exactly done well over the last 12 months, but we certainly have seen a recovery in the last 2 odd months. So there you have it at 146. I'm going to take a short-term view first on Greaves Cotton. Vikas, come in on this one. How would you trade this?
The stock has seen a good move from those 130 to 145, 146, but once again it lacks volume. So on the higher side, 160, 165 could be easily achievable, but as the stock is not seen with much greater volumes, so we can continue to keep and hold on the stock with a trailing stop of around 133, 134, which is the 200-day average for the stock.
We've got Deepak Batra's question on Mahindra & Mahindra. Let's pull up the stock and see where it's currently trading. He's looking for a long-term view, though. The stock is down about 0.8%. Sandeep, in the context of the commentary on the slowdown in the automotive space with regard to the sales we've seen in the last 4 months or so, and with the latest update with regard to the monsoon forecasts. So this is both their divisions, right? You're talking about the farm equipment sector likely going to be facing some headwinds, and you're talking about the likely slowdown in automotive sales. How would you look at the fundamentals, at least over the next 12 months or so?
It's a very valid question. In fact, somehow I'm not very bullish on M&M. It's simply a whole reason being the management is very good, and the company is actually into various different segments. As you said, they are into automotives also, they are into tractors also, and they are into defense things. So somehow I feel that, this is a level where, the valuations are attractive, so I won't recommend an exit also. But at the same time, I don't see any good reason to buy the stock. Also, as the monsoon forecast has also been not good, and then the auto segment is also not doing well. So I would rather go with a Maruti if it comes again to back to 6,700, 6,800, because it has given a sharp move from 6,500 to 7,200. Then Hero MotoCorp, again, it has also corrected a lot. So somehow I feel that these two stocks are better off than Mahindra & Mahindra. So those who are holding it, they can continue hold it. Those who wants to enter into auto sector, then I think they can look at Maruti and Hero MotoCorp on declines again.
Okay. Well, let's move on and talk about Vodafone Idea. We have a question from Rajdeep on Facebook, and he wants a technical view here. I'm not really going to talk about how it's done over the last 12 months because it's actually come off from levels of 45 rupees per share to currently at 15. However, there certainly has been some weakness of late as well. And this is where we're seeing it come off by around, well, nearly 58% even in the last 3 months. And it is still on a decline on heavy volumes too. Now, some analysts out there may consider the relative strength index, and on that parameter, it does certainly look a bit oversold. But if you leave all these aside, the question really is, do you buy, do you sell Vodafone Idea on a technical basis? Vikas, how would you help the viewer with this question?
Well, it's too difficult to trade technically in this double-digit stock because what happens is that the price movement has been pretty erratic. And in case of Vodafone Idea, if you look at the decline, the stock has not seen any major positive close for the last 12-13 months. So we continue to believe that the stock would face some more pressure. No doubt post rights issue, there was some amount of momentum, but again, that momentum has been fizzled out and the stock has once again seen a correction from those 19 odd levels to 15. So it's better to avoid the stock.
Yeah, I mean, significant correction over the last 12 months or so. Let's pull up Naveen Fluorine International. We've got a question from one of our viewers on Facebook. Let me just pull that up. I've somehow lost the...
It's a Ramanuj
Zawar. Oh, yeah, Ramanuj has got this question on Naveen Fluorine. This one's for you, Sandeep. He's asking for a fundamental view on the counter. If I look at the year-to-date chart, it has not done too badly for itself, up about 7.3% or thereabouts. But what he's asking for is a fundamental view.
It's a fantastic company. I like the company, and I have actually recommended the stock to our clients also, and somehow I feel that at these levels it has actually performing well since last few sessions. And if you look at the valuations, they are pretty attractive, and somehow if you look at the sales growth, CAGR of the last 3 years, it has been around 17-18%, and then the return on capital employed is around 27%. So all these numbers are really very attractive, and I think it's a fantastically managed company and a consistently growing company. So those who are holding it, they can certainly continue hold it. And those who want to enter into the stock, they can wait for some declines, because reason being it has actually gone up since last few sessions. So one should wait for some dips, and at those levels, I think it will be a very good stock to enter into from a longer term perspective and a good portfolio name from my side.
Okay, well, Sandeep, we have one more question for you. It's on Reliance Industries. We have a question from Digvijay who wants a long-term view. I reckon you would probably be relatively positive when it comes to Reliance Industries, but the real question is, would you buy at these levels? Would you wait, hang on? Or if you're actually suggesting, to sell, please do go on and tell us about how you feel about this one.
I think I'll wait for some time now. I'll wait for some declines to enter into the stock, because the result month is also there. We'll have to see how the new economy businesses are actually faring, how the geo business will, in fact, post the results, and how the retail business, because in the last results, retail was a big, outperformer. And in fact, the reason being these two new economy businesses are actually increasing their share in their total profits. So I think that was a very big encouraging, point where, one can really look at or reconsider investing in this particular stock. And we aggressively recommended this stock post results. And in fact, the targets have also been achieved. 1400 was the target. So I think one should wait for some time and look at the results. And the markets are also, this particular stock has actually outperformed the markets. So it will not be very safe to enter the stock at these levels. So decline will be advisable, and then enter into the stock at somewhere around 1300, 1325 levels.
Okay, Sandeep, I'm just going to try, and if you don't have a view, that's perfectly fine. We can tell Margesh. Margesh has got a question for you on IRCON International, which is Infrastructure Construction Services. He's bought at levels of 465. The stock is down about 8.9, nearly 9% on the year-to-date basis. What is the view here? If you're talking about this particular counter, if you don't have a view on this counter, you can perhaps suggest another name in the infrastructure space.
No, I think somehow I like this company. It's not that, because railways IPOs are coming and railway is one sector, where we will see a growth, and these companies are actually dependent on railways. So, and in fact, they are government companies also said, oh, they don't have that, problem of order book position. And since they have a monopsonic thing, because the buyer is single. So when it comes to a single buyer, then that segment is a monopsonic segment. But still, the valuations are very attractive. It is trading at somewhere around 6 to 7p multiples. The dividend yield is good. So we recently recommended the stock. It's not that we have not recommended the stock. The dividend yield is around 2.61 and the growth is around 10 to 11% CAGR. So all these factors are quite encouraging, and I think one after the another railway IPOs are coming up. So I think these companies will do well. Rides, Aircon, I think both are good companies to hold. Yeah.
Okay, and perhaps a time for just one more query. This one comes from Satya Subhash. He wants a 6-month view on Bank of India. Let's pull that up. It's currently at 102.5, not doing too much today. Vikas, how are you reading cues on Bank of India, and what would you do with this one?
Well, the same view continues to remain. We believe the stock could see some amount of profit booking, as we have been seeing that 30,800 continues to remain a strong resistance for Bank Nifty. Bank of India could also test near to its 200-day average of 91, 92, 3 odd levels. So it would witness some amount of profit booking from current levels.
All right. On that note, I'd like to thank both our guests, Vikas and Sandeep, for helping our viewers with their queries. That's all we have from this edition of Ask BQ. Markets continue to be choppy. To take you through everything that's happening, we have the closing show just in a short while. This is Bloomberg Quint.